Communication security, COMSEC, is beaten into soldiers, sailors, airmen, and marines. Well, that's more figurative than it used to be, but you get the point. From the earliest iterations of their training, one of the biggest force multipliers on the battlefield is effective communications. Without working comms, an operation can fall apart, assets can be lost, and people can die. Even in training. For my part, providing support to units conducting training exercises requires us to be working comms both in the mechanic shop and in our vehicles. Usually these comms are unsecured, truth be told, just an old sync cars set up with the basic single-channel plain text configuration. Every once in a while, though, when there's a big combined arms operation, we actually get orders to shadow the units through their evaluations to make sure their vehicles remain mission capable, and something as small as a cracked hose doesn't stop some would-be Patton from showing off to his commanders. And that, my friends, requires a radio fill to keep us all talking the same language. To keep it simple. A radio fill will be we'll call it a code. It makes sure all our radios speak the same language on the same frequency at the same time, and nobody else can listen in or communicate with us. So, after returning to duty and steadfastly adhering to the rules laid out by Micah in the shop, we got detached to a brigade-level assault on the fake city of Sokovia. Yes, seriously, I was pretty excited, to be honest. Sure, it'd be hard work, and we wouldn't get much sleep for the week, but it was fun as hell watching an entire battalion maneuvering through the desert, dancing with combat engineers acting as the Op-4, doing everything in their power to slow the assault. It started out as beautiful as you could imagine. Entire armor columns roared to life and advanced as one. For a time, harmony was flawless. But all plans start to fall apart when they encounter reality. We call it friction. Oh, an oil leak here, heat stroke there, miscommunication on fuel point. You know how it goes. Reality is complicated, and everyone makes mistakes. Before long, we found ourselves having gone without sleep for 2 days, bouncing around the alien hellscape, trying to do what we could to keep the beast moving its objective. After a particularly exhausting day, we received a call to help a Cav scout who got stuck on the far and inaccessible side of Sokovia. We knew what went wrong right away. Some enterprising young officer or NCO tried to work their way through the hills to flank their objective and broke down, and now we'd have to go pull an all-nighter to unfuck them. Problem was, we couldn't establish contact with them on the radio. Their commanders dialed us into the last grid they were seen at, stating that their comm equipment had been acting up, and that got Micah's attention. He tried to clarify, but they weren't exactly wasting a whole lot of breath on a couple of knuckle-draggers like us. All the way out there, Mikey was acting fidgety. I knew COMSEC was another important rule, with about 3 derivatives of which my predecessor broke 1. But I was still wet behind the ears, and hadn't yet grasped how serious things could get. We rolled upon a dead striker at about midnight. Sokovia was lit up with all sorts of training rounds as the assaulting force began fighting building to building, so we had a pretty memorable backdrop. Mikey keyed the mic with a shaky hand. Striker 2-6, you boys alright? We're here to get you back into the fight. Silence. We'd pulled to a stop and were still maintaining light discipline, but we kept our distance from the dead vehicle. Striker 2-6, copy? Static echoed back for a time. Suddenly, someone hotkeyed the mic on their end, and we could hear some weird, indecipherable tongue. In the background, we could barely make out heavy panting and screams. Mikey tried to key the mic, but the channel was awash with the cacophony of misery. I was too stunned to even question it and let Mikey take the lead. He switched the channel over to the company frequency. Striker Actual, this is Romeo Charlie. We have eyes on Striker 2-6. Can you verify the last comfill?
Romeo Charlie, this is Striker Romeo. Last comfill was 1600 today, but 2-6 was mission non-capable at the time, so they didn't get the update.
Mikey looked at me, and even in the gloom only illuminated by indirect fires, I could tell he'd gone white. What is it, man? Dude, they didn't fucking... They failed at COMSEC 101, okay? Striker 26 has been out here without any communication with their chain of command for almost 9 hours. He continued to mutter obscenities at himself. They know better. They all get the briefing. He sounded exhausted. Listen, 26 didn't get the comfill, and they went off the grid, okay? You know what usually happens when you get a couple of Joes who can't reach anyone at all of a sudden? They switch over to unsecured comms and try to reach range control or start using their cell phones? I finished for him. That's right, and unsecured comms out here on this range is a huge fucking no-no for all sorts of reasons, not least of which is Samantha. We'd been awake for almost 2 days, and despite the fact that I'd learned not to doubt him, I could barely control my laughter. Shut the fuck up, dude. He cut me off mid-giggle. I'm sorry, I'm tired. He carefully reached over the radio and cleared it before I could react. He dumped everything. Our frequencies, our fill, everything. Now, we were alone too. What the fuck are you doing? I almost shouted. He held his hand up, index finger pointed upward, telling me to hold the fuck on. Then he pointed to the striker still laying there, dark and seemingly abandoned. He reached a hand out of the driver's side window of our truck and rapped the roof with his Gerber. An ear-piercing moan emanated from all around. Okay, rookie, single-channel plain text, frequency 39500, go. I stared at him, mouth agape, for a mere moment before my reflexes kicked in, and I went through the process of re-establishing the kindergarten level of comms he was asking for. Once it was all set, he keyed the mic again. Hey, Samantha, what's going on? Static emanated from the radio while we felt a single reverberation travel through the ground beneath us, through the chassis and into our bones. Samantha? That's not very nice. These boys just got a little lost. His knuckles were white, though his voice was calm. Another quake erupted from the desert, contrasted with and masked by the continuing city assault in the distance. Listen, we need you to let them go, okay? We've got quite the show for you tonight. You can feel it, can't you? He said, as if enticing a child out of a tantrum. Silence followed for a few moments. Then the striker itself shuddered in defiance. I'm not trying to trick you, he spoke calmly in a reply to a comment I clearly didn't catch, sweat dripping down his face. We'll be happy to stay here with you and watch it together. Would you like that? For a moment, even the distant report of training ammunition was muted by an almost imperceptible evacuation of atmosphere from all around us. I instinctively breathed out to clear my lungs as vacuum engulfed us, and sounds ceased to have any meaning. In my panic, I struggled and flailed hopelessly, as if I were a kid again, having been thrown into a pool, not knowing how to swim. Micah, however, kept focused on the mission. He was tapping on the roof with his Gerber while I clawed at the window. Morse code. He continued to bargain with Samantha, even as we faced our end. Then, as soon as it had begun, it ended. The sweet stench of that hot desert air returned, and with it, my sanity. The striker's lights came back on, and all at once, I could see her crew wandering around as if nothing had happened. Quicker to recover than I, Mikey stepped out of the vehicle. Hey, you guys all right? He wandered up to the NCOIC, who was clearly in shock. We missed the... Yeah, you missed the fill. We came out here to see what was up. Everything okay? Your vehicle up and running? Yeah, he replied in a daze. Alright, well, don't forget the safety briefings, okay? You can't miss your fills on this range, and if you do, you maintain radio silence. Here. Mikey pulled out a small device and helped them load their radios properly. The confused NCOIC nodded, and when they got back into the striker and continued their mission towards the city, Mikey stepped back into the cab and deflated. I don't know what the fuck is up with these units, man. Their command says they broke down and so they didn't get the fill, but that's That's bullshit. Okay, leadership failed. They didn't even get the S6 out here, just forgot about them. Leadership dropped the ball, and Samantha almost got these poor guys because of it. So, we getting the hell out of here, or? Mikey looked at me wide-eyed, miming for me to shut the fuck up. In a hushed tone, he gestured at the radio and told me, No, not if you ever want to get home. A promise is a promise, and thank God we had something to bargain with tonight. We're going to stay out here until sunup and keep Samantha company, and maybe we'll get to leave. I didn't ask any more questions that night. As we witnessed the fall of a city, we sat there drinking cold coffee and slurping copious amounts of dip. Mikey kept the mic hotkeyed, narrating for our guests so Samantha could hear the song of Sokovia.